Okay, we're back. Just gonna watch me here for a little bit. I've got the good blank installed. I'm using the good embedding. I did find out a defect from the glass cutter when they ground it to put a pencil edge on it, which they didn't do the first trip. The second trip they did. Got a little bit of a hump in here, probably a 32nd or so. I checked it with a frame and it does rock a little bit, but I'm going to go ahead and try it. Worst thing I can do is have to start over, but we're learning. And you don't learn from your successes. And this is a little stiffer. I used the more available Parts House embedding last time with this other frame, and it's quite a bit more pliable than this thing. This has a canvas back on it, and it's pretty tough stuff. I can see why you need to 45 this before you install. The other one, I think I went ahead and tried part of it not 45ing the corners, and because that's where the binding is. And I didn't have too much trouble with it when I jammed it together. So we'll try this one and see how it goes. It's tougher stuff because of the canvas back. This is actually the more gooder stuff, the better. This is the high quality embedding, which of course the parts houses, they're difficult to get it from them. It's secret stuff. I don't know where you can get it. And you can see this stuff needs to be kind of pre-formed. Probably wouldn't hurt to heat it a little bit, but I'm not going to do that. This isn't the way you tape it. This is just holding it in place while you put tape on it. You get it too deep in here and it's going to go in the groove in the frame, and it's a little difficult to get out of there. I would imagine it'll be even more fun with this stiffer stuff. But hey, you can do it. While we're taping this, I'm going to go through the flow chart that I made up, and I'll take a picture of it. But basically, the flow chart on this should be that you disassemble the frame, then you rework the hinge. Probably you want to at least take the hinge apart because there's a lot of corrosion in there, and the experience I had is that it lines up, and it's kind of tricky to take apart. That's why I came up with that piece of wood to minimize the damage to it. What I'm doing is splitting this so that it bridges across the glass the best I can. These are pencil edge, they're rounded That's why it went back to the glass shop to get the pencil edge and ground into it. And I learned that glass is sharp. First thing I did when I got it back was put my hands on the seam and found a sliver of glass, which I thought I was going to be wearing for quite a while. But I guess when I pulled it out, I got it all. Lucky it didn't shatter or stay embedded in my finger. And it hurt. So a word to the wise is that you want to use some decent gloves. These are leather work gloves, and they should do the job just fine. We'll go back to the flow chart. We start with a disassembly. We clean and prep, rework the hinge if needed. Cleaning and prepping includes sanding, epoxying any pinholes or holes in it that are, because you're going to have them. And you want to sand it. I tried using a wire brush on a mini grinder, and I was wearing a nice broke-in Levi shirt that I've had for a long time and treasure pretty well, and it hung up on the wire brush on the grinder, almost choked me to death, and I had to reach over to unplug it, and luckily I could do that because it's going while it's dead shorted. So then I decided that it's much better to use some sandpaper, 60 grit or so, which will really go through that rust fairly good. Gets a pretty smooth surface, and that should do it. That should be adequate. No need for the grinder deal, which is life-threatening. One of my friends is a career ag teacher, vocational ag teacher, down towards San Luis Obispo, and he had a student lose his eye at home by not wearing an eye protection with one of these mini grinders, and a shard, a piece of the wire broke off like they do, and got his eye, and he's blind in that eye. So, see, PPE, personal protective equipment, is a good idea. At least from my 20 years in the trades experience and my friend's unfortunate student. It just doesn't pay to take shortcuts. I don't care who you are. If it's not going to get you today, it'll get you tomorrow. So why tempt fate? And enough other stuff that'll bite you. And this is going to take a little while. If you want to go get some coffee, go ahead. But watch me stumble along here and get this fixed up. This is fairly fresh tape, but this embedding material is very stiff. A lot stiffer than the other stuff, the cheap stuff. And when I called up today, I called one of the suppliers to verify what to do after I had the embedding in the frame. Did I need to use oil to activate it so that it would seal to the glass, and he said, no, you're done. You've got it. So the embedding material, it looks like uncured rubber, and probably what it is. And that uncured rubber will cure and seal. And if it's like most of the Model A stuff, there's something we don't see, or we'll learn the hard way. This is shaping up to be very stiff. Okay. I'm going to slit this. No, that's tough. Good stuff. Okay. Got her taped up pretty good. This stuff doesn't hold the tape as well as the other cheaper stuff does. So next step is installing the frame, or trying to install the frame. Grease on there. It says don't breathe this stuff, so I'm telling you, don't breathe it. Doggies. Looking good. Okay. Let's see how the rest of it goes here. Didn't finish my flow chart. Going from priming, sanding, etching with an ortho etch, prime it, make sure you get the slot really slathered up. I think I was reading the other day that there was an asphalt or an asphalt type or petroleum type of sealer in that groove from the factory, but it was so rusty and deteriorated when I took it apart you couldn't tell. Install and embed the glass, tape embedding to the glass, and then once it gets embedded, then we're going to in the installation we're going to add the bottom or the hinge, and then screw it all together, get it tight. Once that's done, then we go back and trim it once it's screwed together, and then you could paint it and install or set aside for the next part of your restoration. I'm busy. Okay, we're back. Now comes the tricky part. Trying to get this all to come together. The groove on the outside. Fit the clips into the outside hole. And the knife edge into the corner of the frame, all at the same time. Now I'll give a little encouragement. Okay, it's coming home. And the holes are lined up for the screws, so that tells me that baby's in. Fairly uniform. Not perfect, but it'll do. What I'm looking at is the amount that's sticking out. That's one reason it starts out so wide. You've got to have that, because like the glass guy told me the other day, it does move, and it did, but it looks like it's home. So now take the tape off and then trim it after we put the screws in. So I think the first thing we'll do is put the screws in case this puppy wants to come apart or I drop it. So set her down. Get rid of my stands. block. Piece of tape. Let's get these screws in before it falls apart on us. Okay, and my quandary is that I made up some screws for the exposed face screw because I only had one set for 4 sets of frames, and I'd taken some apart. They're too rusty to use again, but I did learn that one of them had hex screws in it, could have been from replacement, and I noticed one of the better kits includes a square screw and the taper. And the taper, this is exposed steel, so it's not plated or anything, and those just sit in there. You hold the back of it with a pair of pliers or something to get it to seat, then tighten it up. And what I did last time was I started the side screws, got those into the side clip, didn't get them real snug. Then I drove the knife edge of the top hinge down into position, and I still had a gap, and I used a center punch. I think I've got it here. Used a punch. First I tried an awl, that didn't work. Then I got a little larger punch and put that in a hole. You've only got like 1/8 of an inch or so in there, and that brought it together. And so now on this second frame, I don't need either one of those because it went into position, which says that either it's too damn loose on the top or it's supposed to fit that way, and we're home free. And I'm taking the second option. Looking for my pliers. Don't find them. Here they be. So what we'll do, we'll start the side screws with a better screwdriver. And you're going to see my bald spot. Okay. Reposition. Probably out of focus, but you get the idea. And these fit in here. Get them started. And I'm doing this without glasses, which is an adventure. Okay, so we're going to get these pretty much ready to go. Don't want to encourage that too much. It looks loose. Remember, when you take these clips out and put them back, what you've done is really distorted things quite a bit. And using that, see that the way it's designed, it does, as you tighten it, it does bring it into a little more tension, a little more position. Now I'm not totally home, but I'm pretty tight there. Now we're going to use the hex screw after we get the other side done. I don't want this to fall apart. Too hard to put it together. And I'm fairly happy with the way this has turned out so far. You see, you pull it down with that scratch awl, getting that screw in position with your little stubby fingers. There we go. Get the other one started here in a second. Piece of cake. Oh, yes. I'm going to go ahead and tighten this up, which will pull it into position. And it's thread. It looks like that thread is stripped pretty much. If you remember on this one, when it was taken apart, one of the screws was had to be drilled. I think I had to drill both these out, and then I drilled the shaft out, and luck would have it I had some threads left, and so it's holding 3 out of 4 there. I might take that off and put a little Loctite on there, but I gotta go buy some first. So next step, I'm going to use I'll use the replacement ones that I made. I had to shorten up. I had the right thread, right head, but it was too long. So I put them in a vise and cut them down. And they just barely catch, which is what you want. You want it to suck this thing in. Okay. Take that apart. Not hard to do this and leave the camera in position, but hey, do what we can do. In there. There we go. I think. Nope. Not long enough. So, go to plan B. Okay, back to do the trimming. I just want to show you that basically what I do is take the tape off. I've got the screws in place. And then just take a utility knife. I tried using a metal ruler, and that was fruitless. And because it's almost a two-man deal, that this metal edge is okay on a straight piece, and then you just use that as a backing so you're not cutting into the paint or the primer. But I think this is more effective one-man type of deal, and that's what I'm using. And I'm just going to come in here close to the edge. And this is a little bit tougher than that uncured rubber, but it's working. I think we need a sharper blade here. Back in the day when I used these every day, first thing we do in the morning is take the blade out and throw it away and put a new one in for that day. And I figured out they're 5 cents. We used to buy them bulk, they're 5 cents a piece. So I'll spend 5 cents here, and still got a few of them around, and I like the handle better than I do the kind where the blade just gets put back in, pull it back in and out with your thumb. These are more gooder, more rigid. Okay. And we'll just go ahead and cut another one so you get the idea. Whoa. That's not good. That's cut wrong or not thick enough. That's not the right dimension here. This is I'm just gonna have to come apart and probably push it up this way, because I'm putting the blade all the way through here. It's not grabbing the frame at all. So that tells me this dimension's wrong. Well, dirty word. So we're going to start over. Yeah, I'm going to add another YouTube on this, because this has to be trimmed and actually re-embedded. So follow up on the next one. It'll show the completed windshield. This is getting too long.